Okay, welcome back, ladies, to Lead Gen Summit. Today I am interviewing Sophie Bee, and she is so much fun, so down to earth, and is going to share some amazing stuff with us. So, Sophie, can you please quickly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you help, and then we'll dive right in.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Mara. My name is Sophie Bee. I am a messaging and story selling strategist, and I work primarily with coaches, healers, light workers, anybody who is doing deep transformational work and wanting to market and use their story to sell their services, still their stuff, but their services online, or mostly online anyways.
Oh, you're
Messaging and story selling does all wonderful things. You can do it online, offline, on stages, PR, all the things.
okay. I love that. And I think this is going to be a really fun chat because when we were talking about what we were going to be talking about, you said, I want to talk about a two-pronged approach to lead gen. And so please, let's just dive straight into this. When people are like, how do I find my people for my offers?
hmm
How do you do it?
Ah, such a good question. So I like to think of it this way, especially in the space, like a lot of the women and or mostly women I work with are in kind of the spiritual, like manifesting style space. So I like to think of it as this. It's like most marketing strategies or lead gen strategies are set up for you to manifest your ideal client. Right. It's where you're sitting there, you're like, okay, I'm just manifesting. This person is going to find me, they're going to come to me, and then you're going to like put it all out there and hope that they come. But I like to think of it the other way around. It's like, what if they're actually manifesting you? What if the people out there are actually waiting for you and they're hoping and praying, and every night they're going to bed, they're going, I just wish somebody would answer this question. Well, what if now you flip that and know that they're manifesting you? Now we can start to lead gen it by a different way, right? And have them call you versus you call them. And so the two-prong approach that I was talking about though with you before is that I'm going to use the content for a minute because I think that's kind of how this is going to make the most amount of sense here. But what most people are out here doing is creating content. They're telling their stories. Maybe they're using AI for it. They're producing more and more and more and more. They're putting it out there and they're just hoping people are going to see it. They're going to pop into their inbox and they're going to be like, hey, I want to buy your stuff, right? And most people realize quite early, or maybe a little later on, it doesn't
Yeah.
work very well. Sometimes you can spend months or years in that cycle of like, where are the people? Like, I've been producing all this content, I've been showing up on podcasts, I've been creating funnels, building these things, and it's like, where are the people? And so, what I like to look at is like, what are you actually selling first and foremost? Right? Are you selling like a low ticket thing, or and that's something you're needing high volume for? Or are you selling a high ticket thing that you actually need low volume for? And so, depending on which pathway we're choosing, the strategy for your marketing is going to look very, very different because a low ticket, high volume strategy is not the same as a high ticket, low volume strategy. And so, depending on what you're doing, is where we're going to go with how we're going to get clients to start noticing that their manifestations, which is you, are coming into their field.
Okay. Well, let's roll with the high ticket then. What's
Yeah.
next?
Next. So, with the high ticket, so again, what most people are out here doing is saying, hey, I have this amazing high ticket program, and then they will list all of the features of their program. It'll sound something like, I have this awesome transformational program that's going to make you feel amazing. It's going to help you beat overwhelm, and you're going to get 12 Zoom sessions, and you're going to get 47 modules, and you're going to get all of this stuff plus 67 bonuses. Right? I don't know about you, Mara. Are you buying this so
No,
far?
you already lost me. I'm like, oh, glazed over.
Please don't.
47 modules sounds awful to me.
Yeah, like don't even, right? Don't even.
Oh,
Instead, what I recommend for people who are selling high ticket, people they need to experience you first. Right. And so what I don't suggest, which is actually against the grain, what most people do, is I don't suggest you go putting out a low ticket thing or a free session or like a free group session. I don't recommend people are like, okay, put on the challenge or put on the workshop or whatever. Instead, just invite people one on one to help them with the first piece of their puzzle. Right. So I call it like it's like a solution call. Right. It's like, hey, if I was to say, for example, Mara, if I was going to say, hey, I know you have a lead generation problem. Well, if you want, let's hop on a call, like 20, 30 minutes. I will take a look at your lead generation system and we'll see exactly kind of where it's not working for you. And then from there, if you want to work together afterwards, you can. Otherwise, you'll have a blueprint that you can go off and do what you want with, right? are you going to say yes to that versus most people at this point, they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, right? So the idea here, though, it's not switch and baiting people. Like what we don't want to do is be like, hey, hop on this call and I'm going to help you, and then ha ha ha, I'm going to sell to you.
Yeah.
Right? It's the way it's set up. It's like, well, no, I'm actually going to give you something tangible that you can walk away with. If it was helpful, great. If you want me to help you implement it, fantastic. If you don't, well, then you know what you need to do to go elsewhere. Right. And so this is kind of so any content or any marketing, I like to frame it, let's create the solution that's going to help your person first. And then when they naturally experience working with you, they have the first answer from you. 9 out of 10 people usually say on these calls, like, how do I work with you? This was amazing.
How do we keep doing this? That's the one. Yeah.
Exactly. Like now that I know and I can see exactly where my problems is, well, how can you actually help me resolve these? And so that is the kind of high ticket strategy that I use with my clients. We set up, first of all, what does your solution call look like? Right? What makes sense for your business? How is this going to lead to the next step? How is it going to come across genuine? And now how do you actually put out content that is going to show people that you're the real deal and that to encourage them or ask them to book the call with you?
Okay, so that works if we have people in our audience already that would potentially look, for that kind of help. But what do you say even before that if somebody's brand new and doesn't even have an audience yet?
Ooh, I love that question. So we all have an audience. Like if you've been on this planet Earth for
Somebody's out there.
somebody's out there, right? Like we have phone lists and we have contacts and we have emails and we have everybody knows someone. And so those people, if they're like, you know what, my audience really generally is like, I'm not on social media. I have my friends and family and that's it. And there's like 20 of us and like that's it, right? Then there's a couple things we can do. One, we can just go out to the people who you maybe know someone and say, hey, I'm putting this thing together and I'd love some people to kind of do some research with me to figure this out, right? And it is genuine research at that point, right? You're not switch and baiting people on here either. There's no switch and baiting.
Reach, reach.
But at that point, you're like, hey, let's figure this out. And then it becomes a, do you know someone? Do you know someone? Do you know someone? And then you build it that way. Or, I mean, this is what Facebook groups are fantastic for, right? If you can go into, you can find Facebook. I mean, I don't even know how many Facebook groups are, but millions and millions, right? So you can go into any of those. And especially, I mean, there's ones you're allowed to promo in, but you can get around those rules as well. But go into those groups with your ideal clients in them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm looking for people to test this with me. And here it is. Anybody interested? Do that a bunch of times and you'll have a bunch of people.
Okay, well, that's literally sometimes also it feels like we have to start from scratch because we forget how many people are already watching us. I think
Mhm.
that's really common for a lot of coaches, myself included. I know that I was just telling you that I kind of jumped back on the horse in December because I
Mhm.
took a big step back for a while after Brielle was born and she's 3 and a bit now. And I was still around, but not giving her, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
then when I came back, I was like, I need to like start moving for real, like start doing the activities that I really, really need.
Mhm.
It's like you don't want to mess around for another 2 years and end
Yeah.
up in the exact same place. You want to do the activity that actually moves the needle in your business. And so when you're saying like you basically want to bring someone to get to experience you or to taste like what it's
Mhm.
like to work with you, I think that maybe there's like this perception out there that that's too small of an activity. But one thing that we talked about last time we were chatting is you have to do different activities to hit 6 versus once you're scaling
So,
past 6. So let's dive into that for a second and what the difference is and how
yeah.
leadership plays into that too.
No, and you know what, this is something I talk about a lot because a lot of what we see people do is what we copy. And it makes sense, right? If you go online and you look at any of the, yeah, anyone selling anything from digital products to courses to coaching to any of that stuff, anybody super successful, mostly, or at least who appear and you see as being super successful, you see their funnels, right? You see their content, you see their post this word or DM me this or whatever they say. And then you see their sales pages and the challenges that they're running, the email sequences. And so a lot of people will try just to copy that. And that makes sense, right? Like, and not to mention all of the people selling do that, do this, do that, right? But most of those people didn't get there doing that. Unless
Yeah.
they were in the 2020 boom and they got lucky, right? But most people like they're and even if they did get there doing that, they're also doing stuff that we can't see, right? The relationship building, the chatting with the audiences, the people like that are coming in, like what are they actually doing to bring those people through to their events, into their sales systems. And so it's not as straightforward as just like, here's my funnel, here's my content, and jump in. Now, that being said, for low ticket, it can be, right? I've absolutely had low ticket programs out there that have done incredibly well and had hundreds of people sign up just through the funnel method. And I always say this, is that I can't even tell you how many hours, but I was on over 200 calls with people in my audience, just getting to know them, figuring out, whose was who, helping them out with various things before I was able to create a funnel and all those people jumped in. And I would say about 90% of those people that jumped in were people that I had met and who I'd worked with in the past, and or the person who was working with at the time, people who had worked with her. And it wasn't until that first probably 100 or so people hopped in, and then they started to create the buzz and the social proof that people who didn't know us started to jump through that funnel. And so
So relationship building is crazy at the
it's
beginning.
really, really crazy. Yeah, for sure. It's like something that people I think try to avoid or try to bypass. And even now, right? I mean, even now, all the people like as I'm running a challenge this week, and not a challenge, but a boot camp this week, and all those people in there, I've spoken to all of them personally, and or like Jana's spoken to them all. Like we've spoken to most of them, or they've come through referrals from them. Now there are people coming through cold now, and when I say spoken to these people, like it's fast now. It's not like I've spent hours on the phone with most people. Like some people I may have spoken to briefly in a comment section or chatted for a second in the DM or something, but most of them, they're not people that just jump right through. So it's a little bit of an illusion when you see these kind of big funnels. And when they are really, really big, again, time in the game, trust in the game, their audience helping them to grow and to grow and to grow. And so, just popping up a funnel and thinking, oh, I can put out a few pieces of content and then I'm going to be, hundreds and thousands of people are going to join. It's like, I haven't seen it work like that. I've been doing this a long time and I haven't seen it work like that. And so I like to say that I always recommend, especially getting to six figure, like that first six figures, is that all of that stuff you see online is a scaling activity. That is going to be a slower way to get to six figures. The fastest way is to have a high ticket offer where you're selling, if you have a five to $10,000 offer, what's that, 10 to 20 clients you need just to hit your first six figures? How many conversations do you need to have for that to happen? And then you have the time, the cash, and all the things that you need to actually create these extra pieces if you want to start scaling and doing group programs and bringing people in. Because that's the other thing a lot of people don't realize as well is that there is so much involved in all of that tech and the launching and the scaling and bringing people in. Like, I mean, I have a team. I have a team that does this with me now. And so, we are working around the clock to make these things happen. And it's crazy. I was actually talking with one of my business partners the other day, and we used to run these launches by ourselves. And I was like, I don't know how we did that. Like, I genuinely don't know how we did that. I mean, I do. I remember the sleepless nights, but at the same time, like looking back, I was like, that was insane. Like, why did we think that that was a good idea?
But it got you where you needed to go.
It did. It did. Well, it did and it didn't. I think like I started kind of in the 2020-ish boom where everything like I was very lucky in so much as my very first launch was very successful. And then I kind of after that launch when things started to kind of decline a bit, my whole business was like, why isn't this working anymore? And then that's when I was like, oh, I'm gonna go high ticket. And then once I built that, once I did all of those calls, once I started to really build my audience, started to not get to know people, got my reputation out there, got what I was known for, all of those things, then when I revisited and did the scaling activities, that's when it worked. So I
Okay.
didn't skip the steps, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I think for a lot of people, they feel like having one-on-one conversations is actually really hard, or it feels like this mountain to climb. Do you know what I mean? So can you break it down and make it feel like how would this actually feel enjoyable and easy and something you look forward to instead of, and like even the process of getting those calls booked, because I
Yeah.
think that's the piece where everyone's just like, I don't want to be that girl. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get past that?
Yeah. I think this is where sales and marketing overlaps. This is where, it's a lot of, I was saying this earlier to someone else. It's like, people typically are stronger in one versus the other, and they have a preference for one versus the other. And so if the preference is for, I like marketing, oftentimes when we have a preference for marketing, at least this is my experience and the experience of a lot of people I've worked with, there's that I want to avoid actually talking to people. It's like I would rather just hide behind the content, say my piece and just hope people jump in. And then on the flip side, the people who are more in the relationship, it's almost like it feels more efficient for you guys. It's like, I'm just going to get in there, get to talk to people, you like enjoy the relationship side of it. And then the marketing side of it can sometimes feel like much harder. 'Cause it's like, but you don't think the same, right? They're two different sides of the brain. And so I think one of the things though is that they overlap. And there's so much overlap with them, and you have to just get good at the sales part of it, whether you like it or not. That's where all of this stuff on the outside and all the marketing is actually going to come from. Because the more you understand your people, the more you understand, I want to say their objections, right? Their challenges, the things that they are fearing, the things that they are wanting to overcome, and the things that are stopping them. That's when your marketing is going to come really, really powerful. And that's when you're going to be able to bring people through easier. All that to be said is one of the easiest ways actually to kind of bridge this gap and kind of bring this in so that you're not actually really doing or feel like you're doing either. Find a Facebook group that has a lot of your ideal clients in and talk to people in the comments. But like pick one or two things that you just want to help people with. Like no attachment to it, right? The goal here isn't to try to be like, I'm going to scoop up all the clients. But if you genuinely go into a Facebook group with the intent of, I'm just going to help everyone with this one problem and I'm going to get really well known for it, I did this a number of years ago in a Facebook group, and genuinely I was just like, I can see everybody has this problem in here that I can help them with. And so I just started helping people in the comments. And within a very short amount of time, people started reaching out to me and were like, hey, can you just like help me with this problem, please? Like, I've seen you in this group. Can you help me? And then the admins of the group started to pay attention. And then they asked me if I would go live and help them. Next thing you know, I was in their ad funnels. I was in their in their group as one of their experts, and they were just filtering clients to me left, right, and center because I already had that kind of built in. So all that to answer your question is that if you can have those conversations publicly in the comments without any attachment to it, then it kind of, you don't have to start the conversations because you're kind of just having them, and then they just continue in your DMs, or they continue like in email, or they continue where they need to when someone goes, can we take this private? And you're like, totally.
So two things dropped in for me as you're saying that I think women need to hear is, first of all, if you post in a group to help, you're not promoting. You're literally saying, hey, who needs help with this specific thing? Drop them in the comments and I'll answer below in the comments.
Yep.
And that's, once again, no bait and switch, like you said, no attachment to it, no ulterior motive. And naturally, there will be a certain percentage of people who will end up following you and seeing what you're all about and stuff, right? And then, but the other piece of that is, I think that there are a lot of women who will go out and post once or twice and hear crickets on a post and then feel like, oh my God, that's not for me. And it's like, don't take it personally. Like it will
No.
take a little while before people will engage or say yes, or certain Facebook groups are more active than others. Like there's all these different factors. But I've had
So many
clients
things.
before be like, I posted in all these groups and nobody even commented one thing. And I'm like, then you have to reword how you're asking the question, because obviously people either didn't feel comfortable, because sometimes people feel like somebody's ready to pounce, right? And it's like an art of being able to
It's the
disarm.
energetics, right?
Yeah,
That's the energetic. Like if you are, people can feel that, right? If you go out into a group and you're like, I'm going to post this thing because I want to get clients from it, like people feel that energy versus when you go in the group and say, well, I'm genuinely here to help you, then people feel that differently. And like you said with the post, like and this has happened many, many times, but this one really stood out is that I had this one post. It was just like a little, little mini post that I posted on Facebook. It was like bright, one of the bright pink blocks or blue, whatever color it was. And I posted this in two separate groups around the same amount of followers, total same, like exact same time, like posted one after the other. So like second a minute, couple seconds apart. One of them just went completely viral, blew up, had thousands of comments on it. The other one, crickets.
yeah.
I was like, no rhyme, no reason. I was like, I can't explain why one went off and one didn't. Right. And so I reposted this post thinking, great, it's gone viral, it's gonna do it again. I didn't.
No, who
So
knows?
there's no rhyme, there's no reason, like you said, be so detached from that. But I think, as far as I mean, help, the energy's there. People can feel that. And I think it's so important when you go in and say, hey, I'm doing this out of service, not from self. And this is the other thing as well. It's like I find this a lot is that when we're posting or when we are afraid of having conversations or if we're afraid of selling or afraid of any of those things, most of the time it's because we're in self, not in service. And when we're stuck in that space of, oh my gosh, what are people going to think? Or what are people going to say to this? Or, oh my gosh, that feels so gross selling, or that feels so gross trying to like, if we're making it about ourselves, then it's always going to feel sticky. It's always going to feel icky. But when we're coming from the place of, no, I'm genuinely here because you have a problem that I can help you fix. I can help you solve this, and we're in service. There's no icky, there's no grossness about it. I mean, I don't know about you, Mara, but I don't even think about it. I'm like, I'm here to help you. You either take it or you leave it.
Feel like there's another thing that's coming to me. It's like when there's can be two different kinds of heaviness. Like one is like, what are they going to think of me? What is this? What about this? And then the other one is like when you haven't hit six figures yet and you want it so bad, it's almost like you're grasping every little activity as if it has to be the thing that's going to work. And the more you do that, the more you're in desperate energy, and people can feel that behind what you're
Mm.
doing. And so what's your best advice on how, even if you're like, literally, you're like, I have to make this work. Like I have invested so much money. I have to sign clients now. How do you actually pull somebody out of that desperate energy so that they can show up as who they truly are and serve?
Oh, that's such a good question, and I think so many people I can feel the people everywhere, just like
Yeah.
I felt that, right? Like this is one of the hardest things for people to do because it's about detachment, right? And a lot of the time it's about letting go of the things that haven't been working. Like as you said, like when you're in that, it has to work, it has to work, you got to do this, I've spent all this money. Like oftentimes we collect strategies and then we've paid for the strategies and in time and money and like resources, lack of sleep, whatever it is, right? And so we're
Right.
attached to them. We're like, all the things are like, so we're attached to that. It's like, I can't possibly let go of this thing because it's gonna work, it's gonna work, it's all right. But now sometimes we have to step back and go, okay, well, this is the definition of insanity, right? It's like I've been doing the same thing and it's not working. So there is a fine line here. I think it becomes what is genuinely not in alignment and genuinely is a strategy that you need to let go of. Not forever, maybe, but for now, until you do the things that actually going to work. And then on the flip side of that, what are you avoiding doing because they feel uncomfortable that actually, if you did them, they will work? And
Mhm.
everyone knows the answer to that. Everyone knows, like, what is the resistance? What is the thing I'm avoiding? What is the thing? And this comes in, I mean, the trusting yourself is huge here as well, right? It's like this is where we kind of get to step into our next level version and go, okay, I'm gonna trust myself to show up, do the uncomfortable thing, do the thing that I've been avoiding, and then step into that. So, and a lot of the time, like I think you've said before, and from my experience, the thing that people are avoiding is the conversations, and that's where the money comes from.
See, and that's so funny because I love the conversations, but I had to get really really real with myself about, well, how many conversations have you had this month? You know what I mean? Like if I said that to one of my clients, it would be easy for me to say, okay, well, here's how you go and get into those conversations. And
Yeah,
they're, like you said, like a lot of people are afraid to have the conversations, whereas that's where I'm most comfortable because me in person with my own voice and my own energy can move anybody, any mountain. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But it's
yeah.
like I kept tripping myself up with the marketing of having
Mm.
to look a certain way or sound a certain way or
Mm.
having the right steps or having the right lead magnets or having the right. And I mean, eventually over time, you do build the whole ecosystem. But at the very beginning, until you go, and this is something that I'm working on right now because I'm just back into the game, like full on, full court press, I'm like, how many conversations do I need to have in order to sign 10 ideal clients? And there's my 100 grand. You know what I mean?
I think, and sometimes, and sometimes a lot of the time too, this is also there's certain things that need to be in place as well, right? It's like we can market until the cows come home. We can generate leads until the cows come home. We can have millions of conversations, probably not that many, but a lot of conversations, right? But if we don't have an offer or a place that we know we're directing people into, then what are we actually doing? Right? I fell into a slightly different trap in the beginning. I was fantastic at generating leads. I'm like, I can generate as many of those as you want, but I had no offer to drive them into. So they were going nowhere. And I was like, but they're not converting. I was like, well, what do you expect them to convert into? Right? And so I didn't really have a pathway for them to go. I hadn't have that stuff set up to be able like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. And the other thing as well, and this is kind of more of an energetics thing, but on the flip, like if people aren't signing the clients they're wanting, like oftentimes they'll go and they'll do all these money manifestation things, or they'll do these wealth thing, or look for their blocks. And it's like they're not having the conversations first and foremost. But when you really dig deep and ask them, well, what part of you is afraid? Like, what part of you doesn't actually want clients? That usually triggers something. And then a lot of people will turn around and say, I don't think I have the capacity to take on all those clients. Or what if I'm not enough? What if I can't serve them? What if I'm over-promising in my offer? What if my offer is just not good enough? Right? It's like, oh, there it is. Right. And
Yeah.
so that's the part that actually prevents them from going out and having the conversations. Whereas when you're like, no, I have this incredible offer. I know how many clients I want to sign into it. I feel really good about that. I feel really good about the relationships and the people I'm going to be working with. I know it can help them. I know how transformational it is. Now it's easy to go have conversations with people because you're like, of course I'm going to tell everyone. Like, of course I'm going to tell everyone, right? Because if you're not a fit, that's okay. Maybe you know somebody who is. And I'm going to talk to this person and this person. And I think what's even more magical about that is you become really clear on who your person is and who they're not. And so you can filter much easier. You don't just have endless conversations or endless coffee chats or get stuck in those little exchange circles that go nowhere, right? You start putting it out there because you're like, okay, you're a great fit, you're not, you're a great fit, you're not, you're a good collaborator, you're not. It just becomes a really kind of clear pathway and you're just doing this the whole way.
Yeah, I think there's just there's so much resistance to reaching out to people. And I think at the end of the day, if you go talk to a bunch of real people, you can't, there's nothing that can replace that experience, that data that you get, like that. I call
Yeah,
it ideal client insights. It's like it's
it is.
invaluable what you'll actually get out of real conversations. And even if they don't ever sign with you, if you're able to take what they said, what they're struggling with, what they think they need, even though you know that they need something different, and create content around that, even then you still won on that conversation. And I think
100%.
we need to stop being afraid of that, because I think the online space has sold us this idea that if you don't make $1 million in the first 90 days, you suck. And it's like,
Oh, right?
you're like,
Like, and let's be real, how many people have actually done that? And this is the other thing too, like there's a few people who I know genuinely have done that. Huge but, they had some really, really like easily transferable skills. And they were already operating at a frequency and they had the skill sets to be able to make that happen in super speed and they believed they could do it and so they did. Most people don't believe they can do that. They don't have the skills to do that. They don't have the offer to do that. The kind like there's so many pieces in that, and then they pick the wrong pathways to do it, and it's like, oh, why didn't this work? Right? So I think that's, I mean, we all know, right? I think at this point that there's a lot of fluff online. You're like, wait,
yeah,
what?
there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about too.
Yeah,
And that's hard once you get to know that stuff, because I think there's a lot of us that are very gun shy now, especially with the higher ticket. Like it's easy for me. I buy low ticket offers left, right, and center, and half the time I don't even open them. You know what I mean? Because I
yeah,
like that stuff and I don't care. I enjoy it. I enjoyed the process and I'm like, oh, that was a great funnel or a great ad or a great whatever. Like I'm really interested in that. And sometimes those little tiny, we were talking about that one earlier today that I got on the weekend. It was like, it probably changed the course of my business this year. And that's amazing for 17
yeah,
bucks. But that was like a
amazing.
little piece of the puzzle that I happened to run into because I was in action, not
Yeah,
doom scrolling at night, like actually in
yeah,
action.
action. Yeah, which is
So
makes a huge difference too, right? And if you're off, and and this is the other thing about a lot of this low ticket versus high ticket stuff, right? Is the intention behind it, right? When you are set up in a way that it's designed to give someone an experience, then you're not just speaking to somebody who's going to collect them and put them in their inbox. So there's so oh there's I mean, we're not going to get into that part, but there's so much you can get into that. Like, yeah,
I think the other thing that I wanted to just touch on quickly, just because sales was my background, and the more you talk to people, the more you realize that there are patterns that show up for your type of person, the kind of person you love talking to, working with, etc. And then, what, like you said, once you're at six figures, you have your high ticket offer full, then you have the luxury of being able to start to build out ad funnels or freebie funnels that actually bring the right people in because you've
Mm,
already had those conversations
with
and
the
talked to those
data.
real people. But this comes back to what you said is you have to focus on different things on your way to six than you do on your way to seven.
You do. And I hear people tell me a lot they have lead generation problems. They're like, I don't have enough leads. Rarely is that a problem. Like leads are in a like we're what 8 point something billion people on the planet. Like we are not short of people. There are leads literally everywhere. It's usually another piece of the puzzle that is preventing them from seeing the leads in front of them. Right? They're
Mm.
either not seeing them, like, but none of these people, like, or we're telling stories about like, oh, everyone in my audience is broke. Like, I hear that one a lot. And it's like, are they, or are you telling yourself that, and or are you speaking to the wrong people in your audience? Right? That's a big one. And so
Or yeah, maybe they just don't jive with you and you that's okay.
could be that too, right? Maybe you did genuinely build a wrong audience, although I haven't seen that one very often either. But it's oftentimes it's like, again, it's like, is your messaging off? Are you putting out the right content, the right offers? Do you have an offer? Are you having conversations with the leads that you do have? Are you dismissing the people coming in who are actually like a number of people I talk to who are like, oh yeah, but that person I just kind of like wrote them off. They're always in my audience. They're always commenting. Then why have you written them off? Why do you think they're commenting on everything, right? So it's there's so many different pieces in play as to what it actually could be, but the actual leads itself is rarely the problem. I think though you touched on something a little bit a minute ago about the conversations and people like not wanting to have them. There is a huge difference between cold DMing a stranger on the internet, which I would never recommend, right? And having a genuine conversation with somebody who is like warmer. And even if you are going to do it colder, I mean, I think you reached out to me, I wouldn't call it cold, but like cooler, right? It's like, I didn't know who you were before. But the way you did it wasn't, hey, do you want to buy my stuff? It was like, hey, I saw you in this group. It was personal. And hey, I have this thing. Are you interested? I'm like, yeah, totally. And here I am.
Here we are.
Here we are. I'm in your thing, you're in mine. We're doing stuff together, right? So it's like, it's how it's done and it's what works for you and how you're going to do it. And I think people, too many people take, I don't know if they're taking advice from, I don't know if there's courses and things out there, but some of the messages I get, and I was like, oh, it's not it. So I think there's a real art to it. But I think when you can tap into your natural way of connecting with people, talking to people, that's when it comes easier. Like we all know how to have conversations. We've been doing this forever. I mean, some people might be a little awkward about it, but most people I meet, they're pretty fluent in conversation.
Yeah. It's like going to a barbecue. You're always going to have a good chat with somebody.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just there's a screen between us. Gotta
Yeah.
like take the barrier down, which voice notes are really great for.
Yeah. I love this. Okay, so what kind of a freebie do you have to give away that would be super helpful for somebody who's struggling with how do I find my people for my offers?
Yeah, good. You know what? That's, I think, the one question I didn't answer for you, so was it? You know what? I think the best one I could probably give right now, given on what we're talking about, is you know what? It's not usually a free offer, but I'm going to make it a free offer for you. But I have a how to create an offer that sells itself, which I will send to you. So this kind of goes into a little bit of the offer building, but also in the messaging piece of it. So how do you actually position it so that it kind of sells itself in so much as it manifests the people to you versus you you searching for them.
Okay, cool. I will definitely include that link so that you guys can grab that. So if just to wrap up, if there's one piece of advice you would leave somebody who was like, I want to make like this year, what are we at? We're in May. I
Hmm.
still want to make six figures this year. I have been struggling so bad to sign clients. How do I find the right people and fill my high ticket client? Let's say in the next, whatever, 7 months we have left.
Yeah.
How do I sign 10 clients?
So I would scrap everything, everything. And if you have, even if you have an offer, I would scrap it at this point and put it to the side. Not completely scrap everything, but put it to the side. And I would go and speak to the people. I would look in my audience and I would be like, right, who do I think that I want to work? Like, this is the other thing too. I was like, who do I really want to work with? Who do I actually really enjoy being with? Who's a person I actually want to get to know better and help them more? But go and reach out to those people, talk to those people and say, hey, listen, I'm putting together this new offer. I'd love to talk to you about it. Would you mind hopping on a quick call with me and, talking to me about this? Run them through it. Like ask them all the questions around like You know, where are you at? Where do you want to be? Like, what have you tried? What have you not? And you're kind of doing market research, but then at the end, and this is kind of the magical question at the end, you can say to them, like, okay, if I put this together, would you want to hear about it? Most people are going to say yes, and then you can pitch it to them. And they usually say yes to that because you created it with them. So that way as well, it's kind of gathering your data. You can speak to a bunch of people. It's an easy thing for people to say yes to. It's an easy conversation to have. You collect all of your data. Now you'll know exactly what everybody in your audience wants because you'll have all of these people who have basically designed your program for you. And then you have all of these leads that you can now go back to and say, hey, remember that thing we talked about? Well, I put it together. Would you like to hear about it? Sure, I'd love to. And that's where your client's going to come from.
Yeah. But you're not sitting in the conversation waiting to pounce. I
No,
think that's a huge distinction.
no, not even close. This is,
Invitation at that point, if
yeah,
they want to know more. I think that that's another piece why people hesitate. They're just like, oh, I don't want to say that because I don't want them to think that I was only talking to them because I wanted to sell it to them. And I'm like, well, at the end of the day, even when I do market research blitzes, because I really want to know like the right words that somebody's
hmm
thinking, I will often say, even if they ask on that call, how do we keep doing this? I'll say, hey, I just want to make sure that this was like a market research only call. I was never, my intention wasn't to sell to you. If you want to have that conversation, then we can. But just so you know, like this, that's not
yeah,
why. And most people will be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to book another call. I just want to talk about it now. And then it'll be like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Oh,
But
100%. That's a, no, 100% for sure.
even just having that in the back of your mind, like that wording or like the verbiage, just to be like, hey, this was truly meant to be a market research call. I really appreciate all the help. We can book a separate sales call if you want, or we can talk about it now. But it's almost like I
I love
like to
that line.
know that there's like a break in between, like these were not the same. This was not meant to be a sales call.
Well, it's different energy. It's totally different energy as well. So having that line and that boundary is what I do too, right? It's like when I do my same thing with solution calls, right? I put these solution calls out there, and at the end, if they ask me, it's like, hey, listen, happy to talk to you, but like this is not a sales call. And oftentimes I do them back to back anyway, so I don't genuinely have time to do the sales part of it. But I'm like, if you want to talk about that, let's hop on another call. And then if they do have to, like, can you just tell me now? Sure, no problem. But just so you know, like this was
I
not
have
a
four
sales.
minutes.
Yeah, 4 minutes. If you want to buy this thing, we can hop on another call.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Keep
Oh my
the
God.
energy
Okay.
clean.
So for ambitious moms who want to hit six figures, you're saying literally just make it a priority to go out and talk to real humans until successful.
Yes, yeah. Talk to real humans. Like they're gonna give you everything you need. The people that you speak to, they're gonna design your offer for you. They are going to help you figure out your process and your methods properly. They're gonna make it scalable for you because you're gonna have all that as people you're gonna help. They're gonna help with your marketing. They're gonna tell you what your messaging needs to be. Like absolutely everything you need to have a successful business and start scaling it is going to be in those conversations.
I also want to just interject this. How many people do you think somebody needs to talk to before they go ahead and put all this together? Because I find that most people will talk to one or two that aren't even ideal clients, and then they'll try to build something based on that. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
no.
I always say go talk to 30 people and you'll probably have perfect chemistry with about eight. And those are the people that you
Yeah.
build.
You know what? If you do this, I always say this too. If you do this effectively, you won't even need to put everything together because you'll have clients and you'll be too busy. So if you go out there and speak to, I mean, if you want, say, 10 clients, I mean, it also depends on what you're offering, how confident you are. Like, here's the energetic piece as well, right? Like, if you're wobbling on your, oh, I don't know if I can sell to this, or I'm wobbling on the price and whatnot, and like, there's no certainty in that conversation, then you're gonna be on more calls, right? And so it's really hard to give an actual number, but if you go out there and just keep speaking to people and putting in those reps and having those conversations, and you're looking for, say, 8 to 10 clients, you're going to book those relatively quickly and you won't need to build everything else. And then you have a different problem because now you're like, okay, but I've got all these people and I want to serve them maybe in a group or I want to serve something, scale it. And now, well, you've got all these clients.
Problem.
You have a new level, a new devil problem.
Yeah. Okay. So any last advice for somebody who's really gunning for their first six-figure year?
I think the biggest thing is just trust yourself. Trust, like, don't outsource your power to other people, right? It's like you know intuitively what you need to do and just trust yourself to be able to, move through that resistance and get it done. Right? So I think too often we fall into, oh, I don't know if this is the right pathway. I don't know, this isn't quite working, or it's not working is the biggest thing too. And as humans, we're going to find evidence of that. We're going to find evidence that it is not working if we look for it. So it's like training ourselves, like, no, it's working, look for evidence that it's working, keep in that and trusting yourself that we're going to figure it out to do what we need to do to make it happen. But the trusting is huge, especially for that first 6 figures, because it's hard, right? It's simple, but it's hard.
Okay, Sophie, that was amazing. Thank you so much for coming to this event. And I will drop all of her contact info. You can get a hold of her, jump into her DMs, make sure you grab that freebie. And thanks so much for being here.